What if the key to saving a company wasn't in the numbers or the bottom line, but in the people who work there? Jake was just a janitor, overlooked and underestimated. But when a rich widow believed in him, she gave him a chance to change everything. Now the company's future rests in his hands. But one mistake could cost them everything. Can Jake's vision of trust and connection truly transform this cold corporate world? Or will the weight of the system crush everything he's worked for? Stay with us, because what happens next will leave you speechless. Eleanor Bishop was not the type of person you'd expect to reach out to a janitor. In fact, she was exactly the kind of woman who'd pass through a crowded office lobby without ever acknowledging anyone who wasn't on her level. Elegant, poised, and wealthy, Eleanor had spent years building her reputation in the business world, a reputation that spoke of power, of control, and of making things happen. People like her didn't associate with those at the bottom of the ladder, especially not with janitors who barely even made eye contact with the high rollers passing by. But today was different. Eleanor's heels clicked with a rhythmic confidence as she strode across the lobby, her sharp gaze scanning the room. She was not just a widow, she was a force. Despite losing her husband a few years ago, Eleanor had not just survived, she had flourished. She had inherited his multi-million-dollar empire and quickly molded it into something even greater, something more powerful. Yet, on this particular day, as she walked toward the janitor, Jake, as his name tag read, there was a certain unease in her step. Something was bothering her. Something was unsettled. Jake was mopping the floor, his head down, his uniform slightly wrinkled. He looked tired, as most janitors do at the end of a long work day. He was a man who had seen it all. Customers ignoring him, people pretending not to notice his presence. But Eleanor had never spoken to him before, not once in the 2 years he had worked in the building. He knew she was powerful, knew that her name was whispered with respect or fear among the higher-ups, but he never thought he'd be the one she would speak to. The sound of her heels approaching grew louder, and soon she stopped right in front of him. Jake looked up, surprised. He didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't this. Eleanor told, "Jake, I need to ask something of you. Can we talk?" Jake told, Sure. What's going on?" Eleanor's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it, a quiet intensity that suggested this wasn't just some casual conversation. Eleanor told, "I need your help. There's a business meeting today, and I need you to attend with me." Jake told, "Ma'am, I don't think I'm the right person for that. I mean, I'm just here to clean, not sit in on meetings." Eleanor told, "I know it sounds strange, but that's exactly why I need you. There's a perspective I need in this meeting that no one else can offer. Not the executives, not the board members, just someone like you." Eleanor told, "Look, Jake, you've been here longer than anyone else. You've seen how people behave. You understand them in a way no one else does. You see the little things, the things that the suits don't notice. That's exactly what I need right now." Jake told, "Are you sure about this?" Eleanor told, "I'm sure. I need someone who's real, someone who doesn't play the game for power or money, but someone who sees the bigger picture." Jake told, "Okay, I'll do it." Eleanor told, "Thank you, Jake. I knew I could count on you." And so, in that quiet, unexpected moment, Jake's world shifted. The janitor had just been invited into a world of power, of business, and of secrets that no one could have predicted. What happened next would not only surprise Jake, but everyone around him. And perhaps, just perhaps, It was the beginning of something much bigger than any of them could have imagined. Fade to black as the tension builds. Jake had never felt more out of place in his life. The room was cold, sterile, the kind of place where million-dollar decisions were made without a second thought. The executives, each one more polished than the next, were the very picture of corporate success. They were used to power, used to being the ones in control. And then there was Jake, the janitor, dressed in his faded blue uniform, his mop in hand, his heart racing in his chest. He stood against the wall, feeling every pair of eyes in the room on him. They weren't just looking at him, they were judging him. A man with no credentials, no education in business, no experience in corporate warfare. He couldn't even sit at the table. Instead, he was shoved to the edge of the room, an invisible observer, an outsider who was, at best, an inconvenience. But Eleanor wasn't fazed. Eleanor told, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Jake." Executive 1 told, "Is this a joke? Who is this man?" "This is Jake. He's going to join us today." Executive 2 told Eleanor, "I don't think this is the place for someone like him." Eleanor told, "Actually, it's exactly the place for someone like him." Eleanor told, "Jake sees things differently. He's here because he knows something none of you do. He knows how people think, how they act when no one's looking, and in this business, that's the most valuable insight we can have." Jake's heart pounded in his chest as the room fell into an uneasy silence. Was she really saying this? Was he really the key to whatever Eleanor was trying to do? He had no business being here. He had no idea how to play this game. He was just a janitor. But then he remembered what she had said to him in the lobby. "You understand, people. That's exactly what I need." Jake told, "I don't understand business." Eleanor told, "You don't need to understand business, Jake. You understand people, and that's what we need." Executive 3 told, "People? You're telling us we've spent millions on corporate consultants, experts in the field, and now we're supposed to take advice from a janitor? What kind of game are you playing, Eleanor?" Eleanor told, "I'm not playing a game. This isn't about spreadsheets or market share. This is about real insight. We've been so focused on profits that we've forgotten something simple. How people work, how they feel, what they want. Jake sees that. More than anyone in this room, he understands what motivates the human spirit. Jake's not here to just sit quietly in the corner. He's here because he's going to help us see things differently. What we need isn't another business guru spouting corporate jargon. What we need is the truth, stripped bare. And Jake knows how to see that truth. He knows how to look beneath the surface. I'm proposing something new, a partnership of sorts. Jake will be working with us, not as a janitor, but as a key player. We need someone like him to guide us." Executive 1 told, "You want us to trust him? You really think a janitor's going to help us turn things around?" Eleanor told, "I don't just think it, I know it." Jake stood there, lost in the whirlwind of what was happening around him. He had never imagined that this was where his day would take him. From mopping floors to being at the heart of a major business proposal, the shift was dizzying. But Eleanor had put her faith in him, and that alone made him wonder if, just maybe, he wasn't as invisible as he had always believed. As the executives stared at each other in disbelief, the real question lingered. Would they accept Eleanor's bold proposal, or would they dismiss it as just another one of her eccentric ideas? One thing was for sure. The game had changed. As the seconds ticked by, the tension in the room grew thicker, almost suffocating. What had started as a bizarre request, an invitation for a janitor to attend a high-stakes business meeting, was quickly becoming a test of power, trust, and ego. The executives, who had been so sure of their positions just moments ago, now found themselves questioning everything. They had built careers on being the smartest, the most capable, the most successful. But here, in front of them, was a man who had no business experience, no corporate credentials, and no reason to be in this room. Yet Eleanor had made her move. She had called on Jake, and with that one bold action, she had thrown the entire meeting into disarray. Executive 1 told Eleanor, "This is absurd. This man has no idea what we're talking about. He doesn't understand the numbers, the strategy. He's just a janitor." Eleanor told, "I'm not here to talk about numbers. I'm here to talk about people, and Jake understands people better than anyone in this room." Executive 2 told, "You're asking us to trust him with critical decisions? How can a janitor have any insight into the direction of this company?" Eleanor told, "I'm asking you to trust your instincts. People like Jake see things that you don't. He knows what matters to the people, the ones who actually make this company run, the employees, the customers, the ones who keep this business alive day after day." Executive 3 told Eleanor, "This isn't just about perspective. This is a business. We make decisions based on facts, on metrics, on cold, hard data. We don't make decisions based on someone's feelings." Eleanor told, "You think I don't know that? You think I don't know that this company runs on profits and strategies? But it also runs on trust, on understanding what drives people, what they need, what they fear. And right now, we're losing sight of that." Executive 1 told, "We can't just throw everything we've built out the window because of some gut feeling. This is a company with millions at stake." Eleanor told, "Sometimes gut feeling is all you have. And right now, my gut is telling me that Jake is exactly what we need. He's here because he sees what none of you are willing to look at." Jake felt the weight of Eleanor's words, but they didn't make him feel any less out of place. He wanted to believe that he could help, that he could offer something valuable. But in this room, with all these powerful people staring at him, it felt impossible. It wasn't just about understanding people. It was about trusting himself, about believing that he, a janitor, could make a difference. The tension in the room continued to mount. The executives were visibly unsettled, their minds racing, trying to figure out how to navigate this unexpected shift in power. Eleanor had turned the tables, and for the first time, they were the ones who felt vulnerable. And yet, through it all, Jake could feel something strange stirring inside him, a quiet, growing confidence. Maybe Eleanor was right. Maybe he did understand something they didn't. Maybe this was his moment. The room was a battleground of egos, where every word felt like a calculated move, every glance a challenge. The executives, still reeling from the unexpected proposal, continued to voice their concerns. They were clinging to what they knew, refusing to let go of their grip on the conventional ways of doing business. But in the midst of all this, something shifted. Jake could feel it in the air, a crackling, almost electric tension. It wasn't just the arguments, the accusations, the skepticism. It was something deeper. He had been standing there on the sidelines, a mere spectator to a world he didn't understand, when Eleanor had asked him to speak. She had trusted him with a responsibility he didn't want, but now there was no turning back. His mind raced, struggling to find the words that would somehow justify his place in this room. He wasn't a corporate strategist. He didn't know how to pitch a deal or analyze profit margins. What did he have to offer? What could a janitor possibly know about the intricacies of running a billion-dollar business? And then, like a flicker of light in the darkness, it hit him. Something simple, something obvious, yet something no one else had dared to see. Jake told, "We're forgetting the human element." Jake told, "Look, I know you guys think business is all about numbers, but it's not. Not completely. You can't build a company, not a real company, without understanding the people behind it. The employees, the customers, even the people who just walk through the door and never come back. People make decisions, they act on emotions, on needs, on fears. The numbers, they don't tell you that." Executive 1 told, "And you think you can see that better than we can?" "How?" Jake told, "I see how people react, not just the ones at the top, but the ones at the bottom too. The ones who clean the floors, who work the late shifts, who take the bus home after a long day. They're the ones who feel it. They're the ones who know what's really going on in the company. When things are bad, when morale is low, they're the first to see it. They don't need fancy reports to know when something's off." Jake told, "People are the heartbeat of any business. You can crunch all the numbers you want, but if you're not paying attention to them, if you're not listening to what they're telling you without saying a word, then you're missing the point. A company is only as strong as its people, and if your people don't feel seen, don't feel valued, you'll lose them. Slowly, quietly." Executive 2 told, "You're saying we're too focused on the numbers, that we've lost touch with the human side of this?" Jake told, "I'm saying that if we don't listen to the people who are actually in the trenches, we won't know when things are going wrong until it's too late." Eleanor told, "Jake's right. We've been so obsessed with numbers, we've lost sight of what makes those numbers matter in the first place. We need to reconnect with our people, understand them, really understand them, and then the numbers will start making sense again." Jake had done it. In a room full of seasoned professionals, he had spoken the truth that no one else was willing to acknowledge. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was the one who had brought the conversation back to what mattered. He had provided an insight that no one else had seen, a simple truth, but one that had the power to change everything. As the executives looked around at one another, something unspoken passed between them. The tension was still there, but it was now laced with something else: curiosity, respect. Maybe, just maybe, Jake had just given them the key to turning things around. The boardroom had shifted, and in that moment, Jake realized that sometimes it's not about the title you carry. It's about the truths you're willing to speak. The silence in the room was heavy. Miles Parker, the CEO, was a man who rarely hesitated. He had built this company from the ground up, navigating treacherous markets and competitive landscapes with one goal in mind: to stay ahead of the curve. But now, after Jake's blunt yet insightful words, he found himself in unfamiliar territory. The corporate strategies that had served him well for so many years felt, at least for a moment, like they were losing their grip on reality. Miles knew this was a pivotal moment. He could feel the shift, the new dynamic that had just been introduced to the room. Eleanor had made her bold move, bringing Jake into the fold. But now it was his turn to decide how to proceed. He could either dismiss this as a misguided experiment or embrace the unexpected. Miles told, "You've made your point, Jake, and it's an interesting one, no doubt. But here's the thing. This is a company, not a charity, not a social experiment. I need results. We need growth. And right now, that's what I'm focused on." Miles told, "Tell me, Jake, how do you propose we put your insight into action? You've got my attention, but I need more than just words. We all do." Jake told, "It's simple, really. It's about engagement, real engagement, not the kind of surveys or team-building exercises that are just for show, but creating an environment where employees feel like they matter, where they feel heard. I've been a janitor. I've seen how people talk when no one's around. They're not looking for big rewards or fancy perks. They just want to know that what they do matters, that their efforts don't go unnoticed." Miles told, "So, you're telling me that the solution to our problems is to make people feel appreciated? How will that help us grow? How does that translate into revenue, market share?" Jake told, "Revenue doesn't just come from selling products or cutting costs. It comes from loyalty, from people who genuinely care about what they're doing, who are invested in the company's success because they feel like they're a part of it. You don't need to throw money at them. You just need to listen. I've seen employees work miracles when they know their contributions matter, and that kind of morale spreads." Miles told, "All right, Jake, I'll bite. You think you can shift the culture here? Get people to buy into this engagement idea? Prove to me that it works." Miles told, "I'll give you a shot. But here's the deal. If you fail, if you can't prove that this approach has real results, we're going back to the drawing board. No more second chances. Do you understand?" Jake told, "Understood, sir. I won't fail." Miles's challenge hung in the air, its weight undeniable. But in that moment, Jake felt something inside him ignite. This wasn't just a test. It was an opportunity to prove that a person's worth isn't measured by their title or their background, but by the value they can bring. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was someone who could change the game. And now, with the CEO's challenge before him, Jake knew that the road ahead would be anything but easy. But one thing was certain. He was ready to face it head on. It had been a week since Jake had accepted the CEO's challenge, a week since he had been thrust into the heart of the company's struggle. He had set to work, quietly at first, speaking to employees across departments, from the front desk to the lower levels, getting to know them, understanding what they truly felt. It was hard, harder than he'd imagined, but in every conversation, in every small, seemingly insignificant detail, Jake was seeing something he hadn't expected, something that would change everything. The boardroom was filled again. The executives were poised, their faces tight with skepticism. Miles sat at the head of the table, arms crossed, awaiting the results. Jake was not there yet. He was still out on the floor, putting the final pieces in place for what he was about to reveal. Eleanor stood beside him, the only one in the room who seemed quietly confident. The door to the boardroom opened, and Jake walked in. He wasn't in his janitor's uniform anymore. Today, he wore a simple, well-tailored shirt, khakis, and a look of quiet determination that made the executives sit up a little straighter. The camera lingers on their faces, some uneasy, others openly doubtful. But Jake wasn't concerned with their reactions. He had a plan. He had been working with the employees, understanding their frustrations, their hopes, their dreams for the company. And now, he was ready to show Miles and the others what could happen when you stopped treating people as numbers and started seeing them as people. Jake told, "Thank you for giving me this chance. I've spent the last week talking with people, our employees, our team, and what I've learned is something I didn't expect." Miles told, "Go on. Let's hear it." Jake told, "We've been missing something fundamental." It's not just about engagement, it's about trust. Trust that starts from the bottom up, not the top down. People want to believe in the company they work for, but right now, they don't. They feel disconnected, isolated. They don't believe we, as leaders, truly care about them. Jake told I've been talking to people across departments. What they're telling me is that they feel invisible. They're not included in decision-making. They don't understand why the company is headed in a certain direction. They feel like they're just expendable. Executive 1 told, "You're saying this is about communication, about transparency?" Jake told, "It's more than just that. It's about value. These employees, our team, they're the ones who make things happen. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are. They're the lifeblood of the company, and right now, they feel like they're nothing more than tools to hit targets." Eleanor told Jake's right. It's not just about making employees feel valued. It's about showing them that they matter in the decision-making process, empowering them, giving them a voice, and allowing them to have ownership in the company's success. Miles told, "And how exactly do you plan to do that? We can't just start letting employees make corporate decisions on a whim. There has to be structure." Jake told, "It's not about giving them full control, Miles. It's about starting small, allowing departments to have more say in their goals, in how things are run, implementing regular feedback loops where everyone, from the janitors to the executives, can have a voice. If we want loyalty, if we want true commitment, we need to give people a reason to believe in what we're doing." Executive 2 told, "This is all well and good, but how do we measure this? How do we track trust?" Jake told, "We measure it in action, by following through on the changes. If we can show people that we hear them and we act on it, that's how we build trust. It starts with small changes, building a culture of accountability where everyone feels they have a stake in the company's success. And I can guarantee that if we do this right, we'll see results, not just in morale, but in productivity, retention, and overall performance." Miles told, "Well, Jake, you've certainly made a case for yourself. I didn't expect this, but I'll tell you what, let's give it a shot." For Jake, this wasn't just a victory. It was a turning point. He had managed to shift the tide of an entire company by focusing on the one thing that had been overlooked for so long: trust. The unexpected twist wasn't in the idea. It was in the courage to challenge a system that had long operated without it. And now, the real work was about to begin. Jake had done what seemed impossible. The company's atmosphere had begun to change. The employees were engaged. Productivity had soared. People were coming forward with ideas, eager to participate, eager to be heard. The atmosphere in the office was lighter, more collaborative. Even the executives had started to admit that they had underestimated him. But, as always, success brings new challenges, and with that success, something far more troubling was about to surface. Jake had just wrapped up his presentation. The data was clear. Employee engagement had improved by 40%. Retention was at an all-time high. There was even a noticeable increase in customer satisfaction. The company was thriving in ways they hadn't seen in years. But now, it was time for the final evaluation. Miles Parker stood at the head of the table, a slight frown on his face as he looked at the results. Miles told, "Jake, I have to admit, you've exceeded my expectations. The numbers are impressive. The culture shift, unbelievable, honestly. I'm not the type of guy to hand out praise, but, well, you've earned it." Miles told, "That being said, Jake, I've been hearing some things, some rumors to be specific. There are talks about a potential merger with another company, one that's been eyeing us for a while. They've expressed interest in the exact kind of change we've seen here. Engagement, employee-driven innovation, the numbers, everything, and it's hard to ignore. But here's the thing. There's a catch. The board wants me to evaluate whether this shift we've seen, this new culture, is something they can rely on long term. If they don't see enough sustainability, they'll pull the plug on the deal. We've got one shot at this, Jake. Jake told, "Are you saying we're at risk of losing everything, even with all the progress we've made?" Miles told, "Exactly. The board isn't sold on this culture shift. They're skeptical. They want results. And frankly, I don't think we can convince them if this new atmosphere is just temporary. You've done well, Jake, but now we need to prove that this is real." Eleanor told, "You can't be serious, Miles. We've shown them everything they need to see. We've given them results." Miles told, "I don't make the decisions, Eleanor. The board does, and they're not convinced yet." Jake had never been more certain of his role than he was now, but there was a new question he had to face, a question that threatened everything. Could the culture shift, the trust he had built, survive the corporate pressure that was about to come crashing down on it? And just when Jake thought the challenge couldn't get any harder, Miles dropped the bombshell. Miles told, "I want to know, can you guarantee that this culture will last? Can you make us believe it's sustainable?" Miles told, "I'll give you a moment to think about your answer. But, just so you know, our fate may be decided very soon." Miles told, "The merger proposal has changed, and it's not what we expected. I think you'll want to hear this." The room went silent. Jake's heart raced. This wasn't just a corporate merger. This was about the future of everything he had fought for. And now, a new twist was about to change everything, possibly for good. What was in that envelope? What do you think it means for Jake, for the company, and for the future he's helped build? We want to know your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Do you think Jake's culture shift can survive under this pressure? Can Miles and the board really let go of old ways? Or will corporate greed win out in the end? And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter in Jake's journey. We've got more surprises coming your way.